Hello, this is Yehna.
And this is Jessie.
We are excited to be back with another episode. We wrestled through many different questions, and we wanted to invite you and elaborate more on the question, does Jesus really care? So welcome and join us at
At
the
the
table. Oh,
table.
whoa, that was so off. It's okay. We are good. We are good. We got nervous because the question's a
So
little controversial.
we were like, yeah, does he care? Yikes. Yeah, the title there is pretty spicy, but basically, we wanted to touch on being Christian and just having faith, but also navigating mental health.
Hmm.
And mental health is something that is highly talked about in our generation. And I just thought it'd be really cool for us to touch on what it's like from a faith perspective, too.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll kind of go through some of the struggles of navigating mental health and also just knowing who Jesus is and the truth and what really matters, but also just feeling stuck. So
Mm-hmm.
let's get started and unpack this. Yeah, now when you're in a season of feeling anxious or being very fearful,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of goes through your mind knowing, Jesus and his character and
Yes.
knowing that his presence is near? How do you now, what's your thought process as you know that you are in a season where you're anxious?
Oh man. I love that you said we know that Jesus' presence is near. I know that more than I've ever known. And I think it makes it all the more frustrating when I get back into this cycle. I'm kind of like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I thought I already defeated level one and two. I should be in level three by now. What's going on? Why am I getting level one characters back in this game? And just feeling honestly very defeated. And as much as I wish I have overcome a lot of that habit, but I am an isolator. I avoid, I numb it out. I just don't want to think about it. And I
Mm,
resort to very much, I work, come home, work, go home, work. And I get very stuck in that routine. It escalates at some point and it comes out physically in my body. And so when I'm stuck in this season, knowing that God is near and knowing the steps one, two, and three, when I'm in it, it just feels so bleh. And so, even though there's no concrete solution of, oh, this feeling is extracted from my brain and my heart, it's just me physically pushing myself to be in his presence somehow. Does that make sense? That's not very romantic, but
Well, what I'm hearing from you is that instead of numbing and instead of going immediately to seeking comfort or relief,
Mhm.
you're kind of pressing into God, which is the opposite of what you would naturally do.
Yes. Thank
Hmm.
you.
When you do feel that way, do you feel bad for feeling that way, or do
Mm.
you feel guilt for being stuck in it for too long? What kind of meaning do you make from kind of being in that season?
Guilt is big. Guilt is huge. And because I still get the blaring voice, oh, Yana, you're not praying enough. You don't trust him enough. You don't have faith. You don't have enough faith. Maybe you just are better off not trying. And, but then I'm like, oh, but me not trying is basically saying I give up. And that then escalates the feeling of shame. And just, it's this vicious cycle of, oh, maybe I'm not putting it's just like, yeah, guilt is the huge factor in all of
Mm.
this. And it's so hard because that just more than guilt leading you to his presence, it really pushes me back from going to him. So learning to navigate how to let go of the feeling of guilt. And honestly, sometimes the best thing I can do for myself is let myself feel anxious or let myself feel sad in that moment instead of pushing it and saying, hey, God, meet me here. Or else I'm going to try to do something in my own strength. And you know how that works. It doesn't.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. I relate to that a lot of I get hard on myself of why am I stuck for this long? I know the answers. I read my Bible, like I know who God is, and I know there's a reason for everything, but for some reason I'm like, no, I'm overthinking, or like
Mm,
just stop thinking about that too much, or stop focusing on that too much, or your emotions are like getting the best of you right now, and you're not thinking about who God is. And that should be enough for you to get out of this or not feel this way anymore. And so it kind of answers the question of like, why do we feel like we can't be stuck? Well, I mean, we're two perfectionists on a podcast, so that's first. But also just feeling, oh, well, we have the answers,
mm.
but we're still stuck. And that is just being human. For some reason, it's like, well, we have the answers, so we should be fine,
Mm.
you know? Because another question is like, what if this doesn't go away for a while? What if God's calling you to a longer season of being in a rut? And it sucks because when you're in it, you just know that you're going to have to be in it for a while. And there's no like quick fix. You just have to sit in it. And as you're sitting in it, you're like, oh, well, I know, but how much longer?
Yeah.
Yeah. What goes through your mind with that?
Oh man. I think because having been in a season where I was like down in the dumps, and now,
Mm,
like you said, I should know by now. I over intellectualize it. I overly seek logical solutions to how to fix this, and also being in a generation where mental health, or also being in a country where the topic of mental health is becoming less and less taboo, and which is awesome, and I love that. But sometimes it's kind of like diet culture. We have so many remedies of how to lose weight and how to get healthier and how to do A, B, and C to look the best, and just everything in the palm of our hands. But at the end of the day, when it comes to application, every human being, whatever they're feeling, there's just so much to uncover from that. Or
mm,
sometimes it's simply, yeah, you're sad. What are you gonna do about it? And I think when I get to that place where the feeling is I'm feeling it and it's there and I'm down in the dumps, the last thing I want to do is go through instructions of how to fix it, because you just know subconsciously in the back of your head, you're gonna have to walk through it. There's no running, there's no loophole. You have to walk. And I believe that's why I always go back to King David and his Psalms, because Dave, as much as he cried out so fervently to be taken out of it, he also, but in that moment, he invited God into that space. And I think that's the biggest thing I have to challenge myself over and over again, is saying, I am so utterly naked, God, but here I am.
mm,
And because our tendency as perfectionists or just human beings, I just want to be like fully prepared to give him the best. And I think that's a beautiful thing. But God's like, no, I need to be with you wherever you go. I don't know. This is a hard one. I'll
mm.
be honest, very hard.
Yeah, I like one of the bullet points you wrote, a
Mhm.
desperation for God's presence versus a desperation for the feeling to go away.
Yeah.
Instead of, oh, let's erase this, let's just solve this, let's kind of get rid of this. It's no, God, instead of being desperate for those things, we want to be desperate for you and more
Hmm.
of you, even if we can't feel it in the moment. And so, mm, I
Yeah.
feel like when I'm in it, though, in the midst of it, is that who I cry out to? I don't know.
Stab, stab.
Immediately, the sweets come out for me.
Oh, oh my gosh, girl.
The unhealthy coping comes out for me.
It's the I only slept 2 hours for me.
We each have our
Oh.
guilty thing. But just to kind of wrap this up, though, we're just understanding that this is just all a part of being broken. Because, oh, I can not imagine not being a Christian and having to go through like major depression. I just don't know how you would get out of that without knowing like God's true hope. And that, therefore, even more because we know God's hope, we're like, we should be fine, but we're not. And that's a part of being human. And so
Yeah.
being, fearful or anxious is not something that we can just erase. just because we have faith. And that's something that I think we just really wanted to emphasize here because mental health, especially in this generation, is real.
So real. And I think
Mhm.
I want to, because you said that, and just a thought clicked in my mind. Faith doesn't mean the lack of or the absence of those things:
Right.
fear, worry, depression, anger, frustration. You know, those things are going to be there, but it's having the faith that God will meet me there. It's the
Mm,
faith that there is still a God, a living hope. I am this now, but that doesn't change who God is. That's the faith that God is still good.
mm,
And so,
mhm,
because there are going to be things that we, both of us and those around us, will have to work through probably for the rest of our life. And
mhm,
it's just the holding on to the faith that God is still near us.
mm. Yeah, because seasons can change and circumstances can change, our emotions can change, but we can't also include God changing in the mix of that. His presence will always be there. We might not feel it, but that doesn't change who he is and
Yeah.
his presence in our lives. So, mm, feeling challenged because when we do enter those seasons, or maybe we're in it now, God is still with us and he is near. And I just hope that even for the both of us, but for you guys too, that we can press into him together.
Yes.
Um, because, yeah, he's the last person that we should feel guilty or ashamed to just show him where we're at.
Yes. It's really just to have the boldness to come to him and say, I got nothing. I always will have nothing, but I really, really don't have anything today. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really hope that this serves as a reminder you are not alone in the feelings you're feeling. And also, whatever you are feeling, do not diminish it because of guilt or shame, but rather, like we said, invite him into it and say, this is where I'm at. And I think I challenge you to sit in it. We are a generation in a world where we have so many things to stimulate our minds. Try to put that aside and say, I am here, me, my thoughts, and you, God. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. We are on Spotify and on YouTube, and all of our updates are on Instagram. Hope to talk to you guys soon on our next episode. Bye.
Bye.